The first time Jake met his new neighbor, the guy was already holding the front door wide open like he'd been waiting. "Name's Aaron," he said, grinning, one hand on the frame, the other gesturing inside the dim hallway behind him. "Door's always open, man. Come by any time." Jake liked that at first. It was a quiet suburban street, identical houses, the kind of place where people waved while taking out the trash, then disappeared back into their lives. He'd moved there after a breakup, looking for peace, and the open-door neighbor felt like a built-in friend. But after a week, the open door stopped feeling friendly and started feeling wrong. Every night when Jake came home from work, Aaron's door would be cracked, yellow light spilling out, shadows moving just out of sight. Jake never actually saw anyone else go in or out, but sometimes he heard low voices, like a TV on in another room, and something that sounded like muffled crying mixed with laughter. One night, as Jake was walking up the shared path, Aaron's voice floated from the doorway, even though the hallway beyond looked completely empty. "Long day, Jake?" Jake froze. "Yeah, you could say that." "You should come in sometime," Aaron's voice replied, still sounding a bit too close, a bit too pleased. "Told you, always open." Jake forced a casual chuckle and went inside his own place, but his hand shook as he turned the lock. That was when he started noticing the missing posters around town. They were everywhere: grocery store, bus stop, even taped to the light pole at the end of their street. Young people mostly. A woman in her 20s, a delivery driver still in uniform, a teenage boy in a hoodie Jake was sure he'd seen skateboarding near the cul-de-sac. On the third night, he watched from his upstairs window as a rideshare car pulled up just past midnight. A woman stepped out, looking at her phone, glancing at the house numbers. She stopped in front of Aaron's door. "Hey," Jake whispered to himself, throat tightening. The door swung wider like it had been waiting for her, and though he couldn't hear the words, he saw Aaron, just a shadow in the frame, lean out, arm extended, inviting her in. The woman hesitated, shifting her weight, then slowly stepped over the threshold. The door stayed open. Jake didn't sleep. He sat on the couch, every light off, listening. At around 2 in the morning, he heard it through the thin wall they shared, a dull, fleshy thud, then another, then silence. No screaming, no TV, no footsteps leaving. The next day, that same woman's face was on a paper taped to the supermarket window, missing, last seen near Maple Lane. That night, when Jake came home, Aaron was already at the open door. "You look tired, Jake." "Yeah," Jake muttered, staring past him into the hallway. It seemed deeper than it should be, like the light never quite reached the back. "Hey, you always leave your door open like that?" Aaron smiled, but it didn't touch his eyes. "Told you, I don't like locked doors. Makes people feel unwelcome. You should come inside, just for a drink." There was something in his tone that felt less like an offer and more like a test. Jake forced himself to meet his eyes. "Maybe later. I'm beat." He went inside, shut his door, and this time he slid the chain across too. Then he called the non-emergency police line and asked if they could do a welfare check on his neighbor, said he heard suspicious noises, that people were coming and not leaving. The operator sounded bored but took his address. Less than an hour later, red and blue lights splashed across Jake's living room. He peeked through the blinds as 2 officers walked up to Aaron's door, which was, as always, wide open. They stepped inside, no hesitation, no sign of struggle. Minutes passed. Then one of the officers walked back out, looking confused. He talked quietly into his radio, nodded, then turned towards Jake's house. Jake's heart hammered as someone knocked on his door. He opened it just enough to see the badge. "Sir, you the caller?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, I live next door. Did you, find anything?" The officer frowned. "Find what?" "My neighbor, Aaron. He lives there." The second officer, a woman, joined him at the door. "Sir, that unit is vacant. Has been for months. The landlord says it's still on the market." Jake stared at her. "No, that's not possible. I've talked to him. He stands in the doorway every night. People go in there. I saw..."
The officer cut him off gently. "The apartment is completely empty. No furniture, no signs of occupation. Dust everywhere. No one's been living there." Jake's mouth drew dry. "But the door's always open." "The door was locked when we arrived," the woman said firmly. "We had to use the key from the landlord. Maybe you're confusing units." They left a warning about prank calls and mental health resources, then drove away, leaving the street quiet again. Jake, shaking, walked toward the vacant unit. The front door was closed now. He swallowed, reached out, and tried the handle. It turned easily. The door slid open into darkness. No dust, no echo, just that same yellow hallway light and the faint smell of something metallic and sweet. "Jake," Aaron's voice came from somewhere deep inside, but there was no visible source, no shape, just a long corridor that hadn't been there earlier, stretching further than the width of the house. "Finally, come on in. Doors always open." From where he stood, he could see outlines on the walls. At first, he thought they were shadows. Then his eyes adjusted, and he realized they were people pressed flat into the plaster, faces distorted, mouths stretched open like they were screaming silently, their eyes staring at the doorway. Some of them looked familiar: the woman from the poster, the kid in the hoodie, the delivery driver still in uniform. Their eyes all moved at once and locked on Jake. He tried to pull the door closed, but his hand wouldn't let go of the handle. The hallway seemed to exhale, and the floor under his shoes felt soft, like something living. "You called the cops on us," Aaron's voice whispered right behind his ear, though no one stood there. "That's rude, neighbor. You don't lock them out, and you don't lock me out." Jake's own front door across the path slammed shut on its own, the sound echoing down the street. By the time anyone came looking for him, both units were listed as vacant, their doors sealed tight. But on quiet nights, the neighbors swear one of them is always just slightly ajar, a warm yellow light glowing from a hallway that shouldn't exist, and a voice inviting anyone passing by to come in any time.